Good evening. I'm excited to welcome you to this evening's concert brought to you by the Idaho State Civic Symphony. I'm Jordan Herget, President and CEO of Portneuf Medical Center. As an advocate for the arts in our communities, Portneuf is proud to once again be the season sponsor of the Symphony. Together we advocate and look to a future filled with music and the arts. Enjoy the concert.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's virtual concert by the Idaho State Civic Symphony. Tonight, the Idaho State Civic Symphony, along with the Camerata Singers and the ISU choirs, will bring the warmth of the holidays into your homes. Though we are not able to gather in person to celebrate the season, we hope that tonight's wonderful gift of music will bring the spirit of the season to you and yours. Happy holidays, and best wishes for the hope, the opportunity, and the promise of the new year ahead. Enjoy.
Good evening. I'm Julie Sorensen, the Artistic Director and Conductor of the Idaho State Civic Symphony.
And I'm Scott Anderson, the conductor of the Idaho State University Concert Choir and the Camerata Singers.
We welcome you to tonight's broadcast of our 2019 Joy to the World concert, and we hope you enjoy this amazing concert this evening.
So please just sit back and enjoy the sounds of the season.
O come, desire of nations bind, in one the hearts of all mankind. Bid thou our sad divisions cease, and be thyself our King of peace. These lines from O come, Emmanuel, remind us of the quiet hope and expectation that we associate with Christmas and with the idea of Emmanuel, God with us. Christmas is also, however, a time for letting loose in rowdy celebration and for sharing favorite stories of days gone by. Let us therefore be united in joy, singing together, O come all ye faithful, and may the harmony we experience tonight inspire us throughout the coming year. At Christmas time, we look forward to happy hours with family and friends. We eat together, worship together, and play together. In between times, we share stories of heroism, stories of grief and loss, stories of joy and laughter, all manner of stories. O. Henry's The Gift of the Magi, first published in 1905, is one story that has become a fixture in the Christmas landscape. Tonight, storyteller Brenda Stanley shares with us her own adaptation of O. Henry's classic short story, accompanied by Maestra Julie Sorensen and the strings of the Idaho State Civic Symphony, playing the Nocturne from Alexander Borodin's Second String Quartet.
True gifts are those given without any expectations of getting something in return. They are given willingly, and when we speak of Christmas gifts, those are ones that express our thoughts, devotion, and love. Della and Jim were married just a year. They had very little money, and though they were hardworking, their home and belongings were poor. But what they lacked in fancy things, they made up for in love. The very next day was Christmas. All the money Della had to buy a gift for her dear husband was $1.87. "What on earth can I buy with that?" she asked. Turning around, she saw her reflection in the mirror. She stepped closer and stared at herself. She reached up and took a strand of her long, beautiful hair. She turned to the side and saw her brown, wavy locks were like a silken river reaching past her waist. Jim loved her hair. He called her his queen and said no crown could ever compare to her beautiful long hair. "He calls me his queen." She took a turn in the mirror, then she stopped cold. "Some queen am I," she said, "with just $1.87 to spend on a gift for my husband." Then all at once, Della knew what she must do. Quickly, she put on her cloak and rushed out of the apartment. She ran down the street to a shop where wigs were made. The sign read, "We buy hair." "Tell me," Della asked the shopwoman, "how much will you pay me for my hair?" "Come inside," said the shopwoman, "and let me see it." Della stepped in the shop and took off her cloak. Down fell her long, thick hair. "Oh my," said the shopwoman, "I will pay you $20 for your lovely long hair." Della smiled. At last, with $20 in her pocket and the $1.87 from before, she could go shopping. But what should she get her husband? The one thing Jim loved best in all the world was his golden pocket watch. It had come from his father and from his father's father before that. Sometimes when Jim did not think anyone could see, he took out that golden watch, turned it over in his hands, and rubbed it with care. Della knew this because she had watched him do it many times. As Della walked along and looked into the little shops, she came upon the perfect gift, a gold chain for his watch. With that chain hooked up to Jim's pocket watch, the watch could not fall out of his pocket. And wouldn't Jim look grand when he took out that golden pocket watch and everyone could see the shiny gold chain too. For $21, she bought that gold watch chain. That night when Jim came home and saw his wife's short hair, a frown appeared where there had been a smile. "Oh, do not worry, husband," she cried. "My hair will grow back." "But why did you cut it?" he said. Della went to give him the gift that she had bought. But before she could, Jim handed Della a small box. She untied the ribbon and opened it. Inside were 2 beautiful hair combs. They were the same ones she had dreamed about many times after seeing them in the store windows, but they cost far too much money. Now they were a gift from her dear husband. "I love them," she exclaimed, seeing his sad eyes. Then Della handed Jim the tiny box wrapped with a bow. "Now your turn," she said. When Jim opened it and saw the gold watch chain, he had to sit down. "Don't you like it?" said his wife. "Of course I do," said Jim, "but you see, I sold my watch so I could buy you the 2 hair combs." Della sat beside him. "And I sold my hair to buy you the watch chain." Jim and Della had both given up the one thing they held most dear for the sake of the other. And now they had nothing to show for it. Or did they? "My queen," said Jim, taking his wife's hands into his own and looking into her eyes. "My dear husband," said Della with love. The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men who brought gifts to the newborn child. They were the first to give Christmas gifts. And here I've told you the story of 2 people whose actions were not wise. Each sold the most valuable thing they owned in order to buy a gift for the other. But let me speak a last word about these 2. For those who give gifts, maybe Jim and Della were the wisest. For their gifts express not only their love, but their willingness to sacrifice something they cherished for the other's happiness. The wise men may have given the original gifts of Christmas, but for those of you who give this season, consider your gifts wisely. Those who give the intangible gifts of thought, devotion, and love, they are the Magi.
Irving Berlin's song White Christmas first appeared in the 1942 Paramount picture Holiday Inn, where it was sung by Bing Crosby. Crosby sang it again in the popular 1954 film White Christmas. Today we may associate the song with nostalgia for Christmases past. In December 1942, however, with the United States at war in Europe and in the Pacific, Carl Sandburg found a different, more specific meaning in Berlin's most famous song. In an article for the Chicago Times, he wrote the following: "We have learned to be a little sad and a little lonesome without being sickly about it. This feeling is caught in the song of 1,000 jukeboxes and the tune whistled in streets and homes. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Way down under this latest hit of his, Irving Berlin catches us where we love peace. Let us sing together this beloved song, which has associations with so many of our Christmas stories." The Gloria is a prayer of praise and penitence from the Roman Catholic Mass Ordinary. English composer John Rutter has set this text for a chorus of mixed voices with organ, brass, and percussion. Rutter's setting divides the prayer into 3 movements, each showing a different facet of his unique late 20th century voice. A complete translation of the Latin text may be found on page 32 of your program. Tonight's performance features ISU student soloists Cristo Lovato, Emma Dombrowski, and Michaela Mitchell, with symphony pianist Laura Larson on organ, the brass and percussion sections of the Idaho State Civic Symphony, and the ISU Concert Choir and Camerata Singers, conducted by Dr. Scott Anderson.
So that was a wonderful first half that we were just able to listen to. And, you know, one of my favorite memories of Joy to the World is when you start the choir at the very beginning with O Come, Emmanuel. Can you tell us a little bit about what that must feel? I know when I'm rehearsing the orchestra, there's a very special spirit that comes with that, but in performance, that is what you get to do. And so I'd love to hear your perspective on that. And what does that feel like to open the concert?
You are right. It is one of my favorite, always has been one of my favorite aspects of the Joy to the World productions, and I think a lot of it has to do with the haunting quality of that particular hymn tune,
Yeah.
the wonderful arrangement by Barlow Bradford, and the manner in which the choir split up and they come in a sort of processional form with candles in darkness. And then at the moment that they sing the Rejoice, Rejoice Emmanuel, the lights come on in the facility. And I think that always is overwhelming for the listeners and for us as well.
It really is. And I think that it's come to be relied upon, actually. You know, I've heard, you know, some of our patrons come and say, I'm looking forward to when it just starts off. I know the rest of the holiday season has started. And so I just think that's really neat. And I love that we get to do that every year. And it's become a tradition for the Joy to the World
Well,
concert.
and interestingly, Mike Sanders, our narrator, has said to me several times that at the first intonation of O Come, Emmanuel, he gets teary-eyed.
Yeah.
And he's heard it 8 or 10 times, so yeah.
He would not be the only one. He would not be the only one. For the first half, I think one of the, this last Joy to the World concert, 2019, was a part of an overarching part of this season of stories. And so it was stories of Christmas. And one of the things I enjoyed was we had Brenda Stanley come, and she told the story of the gift of the Magi, which you just heard. And what was interesting is that that is not traditionally said over music, but we did take music and play that underneath her, and she was so good and willing to rewrite the gift of the Magi and put that together. So that was a lot of fun to put that story together for the first half of the concert.
I think that juxtaposed with setting of the Gloria, which is,
absolutely.
you know, we typically had some sort of Gloria text in every one of our Joy to the Worlds.
Yes.
And this time, John Rutter's really splendid setting with brass, percussion, and organ. And very contemporary as compared to, say, the Vivaldi or the Poulenc Gloria that we did the year before. And brass, I think, represents to a lot of people the holiday and festive aspects of the season, and I think that is another way that just helped that first half to sort of come to an emotional climax and then end with those triumphant trumpet fanfares.
Yes, and that was just so amazing to be able to rehearse. I don't know that our audience always knows what the production is that this takes to put a concert on like this. So you and I both are working tirelessly up to this point in rehearsing our individual groups, actually, and then we bring this and we have 2 rehearsals and then we're going. And so to be able to rehearse the Rutter Gloria with the orchestra, that takes a lot then for you to bring in the choirs and then to have that all become an overarching performance of cohesiveness. And I thought you did a lovely job with that.
Thank you very much. I think likewise with the carol arrangements and all of the other things that involve the full orchestra and all the choirs, it's always an amazing moment when the singers encounter all that sonic sort of magnificence for the first time in this hall, and they're confronted with, wow, this is a little bit more of an overwhelming input for me than normal, and just to see them responding to that, and then where it ends up by the time of the concert is always really splendid.
The first rehearsal is always so fun to watch everybody go, that's what that sounds
Yeah.
like all together. That's amazing. And they love it, and it's just a lot of fun to put that. We end up with around, what, 300 people, 280 people
Yeah,
on
280,
stage?
usually 280 people. And,
Yeah.
you know, just getting them up on the stage at the same time is a logistical feat.
Yes,
Keeping them there through a rehearsal is kind of a miracle.
it is.
And getting it all together really is unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's, you know, when I watched this video, I was watching how close everybody was on stage. And then I saw us shake hands and congratulate one another. I thought, boy, times have sure changed, you know.
Yes.
And I look forward to the time where we can get back together and have that close proximity. That is a very powerful thing, and that I don't think any of us realized what close proximity actually means to us, and being able to work on a project closely with one another, quite literally close to one another.
And to literally have several hundred people up on the stage doing this,
Right.
a community, any musical organization is a community, but to really have hundreds of people and to be missing that at this point in the season this year is a big loss for everybody. I think, interestingly, looking ahead to the second half, one of the things that I'm actually a boomer, a baby boomer, the end of the baby boomer generation, and so I grew up with what were called at the time variety shows, like the Mitch Miller sing-along and other variety shows where big choruses and big productions would be put on the stage. But the thing that was really special, and of course I was very young because I'm at the tail end of the baby boomers,
Of course.
but is that Mitch Miller would have "Follow the Bouncing Ball." And in those lyrics, he would get all of the millions of people, wherever they were, watching on television, to join along and sing any particular song. And in his Christmas specials, it was like what we do. And so some of the aspects of the second half, the singing along with the audience, and the Charlie Brown theme, which also takes us back to, you know, childhood times, which everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
And I think those were some of the disarming moments for me at the second, or what will be in the second half.
Absolutely. You know, I think you hit on a really important point in the fact that the Joy to the World concert brought together on stage, and not only in our audience, but also on stage, people that represent all different factions of our community. And they all come together to be able to present this gift to our audience and to our community. And that dedication is really touching. And when I was putting the order of pieces together, just exactly what you were talking about as far as being a little bit disarmed. Though not in the baby boomer generation, I still grew up with, listening to this music, and especially with Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Through the years, we all will be together, if the fates allow. That was touching then, and it's even more so now.
Incredibly meaningful today.
And, with the Charlie Brown, that was a touching thing for me. Avery Bybee, our sweet little girl that came in and did Linus's speech, it was just so touching. And I think all of us felt connected to our memories of warm Christmases gone by. And that was really the goal and the hope with this concert. And I'm actually quite glad that we have an opportunity to share it again in this capacity. We had hoped to be able to do another Joy to the World and broadcast this year, in fact. And so, in a sense, we get to do that with a really amazing concert that we did last year. And of course, we'll get to end with the iconic and ever so loved sleigh ride. And I love that. One of my favorite memories of that is having worked with you on Joy to the World now. This would have been our 4th year, but 3rd year last year. And every year, whether you know it or not, Dr. Scott Anderson always has a treat for me as to figure out how to make me laugh during sleigh ride. And this last year, you brought, who did you bring with you?
I brought a German Santa doll. And this German Santa doll was made, I don't know, I think it must be 150 years old, because it was literally brought over to this country by my great-grandmother from Germany. And I believe that she made it. But it is one of the ugliest Santa dolls you could ever imagine, which I guess makes it cute. But it's been stored in our family literally for a couple of generations in closets and so on. So parts of it are sort of falling apart, and there's cotton beard here and a part of a hand here. And so when I did bring that Santa doll up from behind Dr. Sorensen's music stand during sleigh ride,
Did indeed.
I think the words I heard were, "Take it away." You were a great sport about it.
Well, the poor little arm did fall off, and now knowing that it was made by your grandmother, I feel a little bad having picked it up and started conducting the concert choir with that arm. I feel a little more reverence for the arm now, but yes, it certainly made me smile, as you have always done for the last 3 years. This is one of my favorite things to do, is to work with you and to bring this to our community. It is an absolute joy, and so thank you for everything that you do to make this happen, for the choirs and their work. I just appreciate it with everything that I have, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sorensen. And the choirs and I really look forward to any collaboration with the Idaho State Civic Symphony as an opportunity musically and to celebrate the really incredible gifts that we have here in Pocatello and in the general area. This concert probably represents to me really a feast of gratitude for those things that we have here in this community.
Absolutely, and I think more than anything, we now realize just how blessed we've been to have those things, and we do have a remarkable community, and I'm thankful that we are able to serve those in the capacities that we both are able to.
And as Mike says at the end, joy to the world.
I'm sure Mike Sanders will love that. He is fantastic, though, isn't he, through this whole thing? I mean, I don't know that we can not, I mean, we have storyteller Brenda Stanley on this concert. We have little Avery Bybee. And then, of course, we have the voice of the joy to the world, which is Mike Sanders. And he brings so much warmth and joy to that concert. I know everybody, aside from just the first notes of the concert, I know they're all looking forward to hearing his voice.
That statement is, to many of us, the hallmark of the production.
Right.
Just to hear Mike intone those syllables every year as only he can do.
That's right.
It's really, really amazing.
We work with some pretty amazing people, and they contribute so much. So we hope you enjoy this second half of the concert. And thank you for joining us for our reminiscence of last year's concert.
With its blending of carols from contrasting French, English, and German traditions, Don Sebesky's A Christmas Scherzo tells a wild and wonderful story, enlivening our senses like a boisterous Christmas bazaar. But we also associate mystery, calm, and even silence with this season of the year. In his poetic meditation of December 25th, 1629, on the morning of Christ's Nativity, English poet John Milton suggests the quieter side of Christmas. But peaceful was the night, wherein the Prince of Light, his reign of peace upon the earth began. The winds with wonder whist, smoothly the waters kissed, whispering new joys to the mild ocean, who now hath quite forgot to rave, while birds of calm sit brooding on the charmed wave. In Mac Wilberg's lush modal setting of the Wexford Carol, we hear a similar hushed retelling of this Christmas story. The poem, The Night Before Christmas, also known as A Visit from St. Nicholas, was published anonymously in 1823. Clement Clark Moore claimed authorship of this famous story in 1837, but recent scholars have argued that the true author of the work may be one Major Henry Livingston, Jr. The poem has nevertheless been credited with solidifying American conceptions of Christmas and Santa Claus. We welcome back storyteller Brenda Stanley to share with us this well-known piece of Americana, accompanied by Maestra Julie Sorensen and the Idaho State Civic Symphony.
"'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And me in my kerchief and Papa in his cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn, there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below. When, what do my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the wall. Now, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas, too. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney, St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk. And laying a finger aside of his nose and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night."
Snow and references to cold winter weather figure significantly in the stories of these next two pieces. Christina Rossetti's poem, In the Bleak Midwinter, has been set to a variety of tunes by a variety of composers. Tonight we hear her soul-searching text, set to a melody by Gustav Holst, arranged by Mac Wilberg. After that, the symphony will perform excerpts from Alan Silvestri's score for the 2004 film The Polar Express. While The Polar Express depicts at times a brisk and clanging train ride through the Arctic countryside, Rossetti's poem relates the Christmas story in lines that fall as softly on our ears as footsteps on fresh snow. Snow had fallen, snow on snow, snow on snow, in the bleak midwinter, long, long ago. Christmas is a time of mystery, full of toys and sweets hidden in stockings, gifts disguised by colored wrappings, and surprise visits from carolers, not to mention family and friends. The next two pieces, in different ways, address the mysteries of Christmas. Lee Mendelson and Vince Guaraldi's Christmas Time is Here, from the beloved TV special A Charlie Brown Christmas, represents a more popular, secular take on the holiday. Morton Lauritsen's ethereal setting of the Latin text O Magnum Mysterium, by comparison, presents a more traditional, sacred perspective on the season. Both pieces, however, get at the true meaning of Christmas.
I can tell you what Christmas is all about. Lights, please. And there were, in the same country, shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. That's what Christmas is all about.
In December 1818, Austrian organist and composer Franz Gruber set to music lines by his friend Joseph Mohr. The organ at St. Nicholas's Church in the village of Obendorf, where Gruber was organist, had broken down. For the Christmas Eve service that year, Gruber therefore played a guitar to accompany the performance of his new Christmas chorale, Stille Nacht, which has of course become one of the most beloved Christmas songs ever. Let us sing together Silent Night in an arrangement by Barlow Bradford. What a wonderful evening of stories and music we have shared to welcome the holiday season. Voices and instruments have joined together in harmony to tune our hearts toward days of reflection and celebration. Now, as we sing to one another the familiar strains of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, we rejoice likewise in the hope of Emmanuel, God with us. O come, desire of nations bind, in one the hearts of all mankind. Bid thou our sad divisions cease, and be thyself our King of peace. We wish each of you all the blessings of the holiday season. Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and joy to the world.
Thank you for joining us this evening. I hope we've been able to bring some of the warmth of the holidays into your homes.
And thank you for taking the time to spend with so many members of the community that have helped to bring their artistic gifts to you this holiday season.
And from us to you, we wish you
Happy holidays!